in this corner, at 5'10", weighing 165 pounds, from Huntington Beach, Joe 5 o'clock somewhere. And in this corner, 5'11", 235 pounds, from St. Louis, Missouri, Anthony Perry.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Welcome to the second half of Finalize This. It is still Tuesday, May 7th. I'm still Joe 5 o'clock somewhere.
Hey, this is Anthony Perry. What's going on?
Okay, so coming up in this half, we're going to take you around the diamond and talk about baseball. Even though, we're only 30 games in, there's quite a few storylines that I think are worth discussing. We'll talk about the second round of the Western Conference playoffs in the NBA. And we'll hit a couple of little stories, and I'm just saying, Kentucky Derby was this weekend. D'Antoni's firing assistants like it was their fault the Lakers were bad. And, a few other things. Let's get it going with some baseball. Here it is, the groove slightly transformed. Oh, sorry.
It must be summertime.
It must be. Okay. So we said this with the mic off just a second ago, and I figured it was worth sharing. We got to talk some baseball right now. And what did you just tell me?
I'm not sure which we were talking about.
You said,
Tommy?
It's only going to be 2 minutes to talk about baseball. Here it is. Yeah. Everyone's bad. And I kind of agree with that right now. There really isn't. I mean, there's one particular team, and I don't want to mention it and give them their props, that's been very good thus far.
No, there's a couple. There's like three.
There's two that come to mind, and I'm trying to avoid their names right now because you're going to gloat with both of them.
No.
One would be your 2011 St. Louis Cardinals, and the other would be my Angels division rival, the Texas Rangers, at 20-12.
Well, let me say this to you. I'm not going to gloat much.
Okay.
But let me let me put it this way. Boston is still playing well. The team you talked about being good in the Central is Detroit. They're starting to gain their stride. But Kansas City's still in there.
Kansas City being 17-11 is still a shocker to me. You know what I hate about it? Irvin Santana is just killing it right now.
He is.
What's he? He's got like an ERA under 3. He's like 4-0. Like, cool, we should let him go.
I think Irvin Santana, like I was saying to somebody off air earlier, was that he's good every other year. And he's consistent with that, except when he had his no-hitter, it was in a bad year. But he's been a good pitcher every other year. So I look at that and I say, well, yeah, he is what he is. But when you look at what's going on in baseball, it has been a little weird. The A's right now are over 500, but aren't playing that great. So I look at Texas as still the team to beat in that division, even though I was saying that I think Oakland was going to be good or make the playoffs. I really thought
Oakland would be that team. It'd be between Oakland and the Angels. And here's Texas at 20-12.
Would you believe, though, the Athletics lead baseball in runs scored?
Doesn't surprise me.
Right now, their pitching is not any good, but they are killing it right now. But their number one pitcher, number two pitcher is Parker, who they say may have a shoulder problem, so he's getting hit by everybody. But their ace, Bartolo Colon, could you believe it? He's 3-1, which surprised the heck out of me. He got off of his PEDs last year, and he's actually pitching well this year. So I give them their props. But, we go to the National League. I'm going to tell you, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Bartolo. You're absolutely right. When I talk about my Cardinals, and I told you from St. Louis, I tried to send you a message, best starting rotation in baseball, and 2 of those guys are really young. And they still have 3 guys in AAA and 1 in the bullpen that's ready to start. So I look at them and I say, man, they don't have a guy. Well, they got 2 people hitting 300 right now, but as a team only hitting 250. But right now they're not making a lot of errors, and they're playing lights out.
I want to stick with your NL Central real quick because there is another team that's kind of surprising in that Kansas City sort of category. Pittsburgh. Tied with Cincinnati, 3 games behind the Cardinals.
But you know what? Last year Pittsburgh was good through July somewhere, and they started to falter a little bit. Somewhere in August, they wilted. But I got to tell you, they got some young guys on that squad. One guy out in the outfield named Marte. He was there last year. They're looking at him like he's going to be a 30 home run hitter. I mean, they got a couple guys. Their shortstop is nice.
I still like Andrew McCutchen quite a bit too. I think he might be the fastest guy in the National League personally.
He is their number one guy on the team, but Aramas came back a few games ago, and he's hitting the ball. So I look at them, and I got to tell you,
That's
they
where
scare
he
me.
ended up?
Yeah.
Wow, I wondered what happened to Ramos.
But who scares me in that division is Milwaukee, because they score like nobody's business. But the Cardinals went into Milwaukee last week and swept them 4 games, and I thought, okay, my Cardinal pitching is for real. The highest ERA in the starters is 2.75.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's their ace.
Every Cardinals starting pitcher has an ERA under 3 right now?
Every starter
Wow.
has. Their team starting ERA is 2.09.
That's phenomenal.
So I look at them and I'm saying, wow, they're 19-6. Their starters are. Their relievers are 1-5. They have 2 or 3 games their guys have blown, or they would have even more wins. So I look at them and I say, man, I'm loving baseball right now, And like I said, I went back to St. Louis and got to watch a game. They lost. Wainwright lost 2-1 to Cincinnati, but it was a beautiful stadium, a great experience. So I'm loving baseball this year.
Let's stick with the National League. What about the East? Is there anything worth mentioning right now other than the fact that Washington's not dominating like every expert said they would be?
Every expert said how good they were.
I think we both did too.
No, you're right. We did. We said they should be up there. But I got to tell you, when they look good, you know who went in and beat them? Pittsburgh.
Really?
Swept them.
You know what? I'm looking
Swept
at the rest
Atlanta.
of the teams in the East. I think you did pick Atlanta. I think I picked Washington.
Yeah, I picked Atlanta because I looked at Atlanta, and they always have decent pitching. And then they got BJ and, both Uptons were actually doing
Justin.
well. But I was going to say, because BJ right now is not doing so well, Justin is doing well. But I'm looking at them like they got McCann back Saturday or Sunday.
That's right. McCann just came back. He's been gone for like 6 months, hasn't he?
Well, he's been gone for a while. So you're looking at a guy that's been back in their right fielder. He's been out because he had his appendix taken out. So, they're still winning.
Back, that's a nice little addition for the Braves because he's only made 6 All-Star teams. So it's nice to get that guy back behind the plate for you.
He's like top five catcher
Currently?
I would say he's a top 5 guy.
With that.
Because he was better as a better hitter than a game caller, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's come up because Atlanta's pitching is very good. So I look at him and I say,
too, consistently.
They've always had good pitching in Atlanta. So I look at them and I say, man, they're going to be good to the end. They're going to be good to the end. So it's going to be interesting. And I told you the Giants were going to look good.
Well, hold on, let me just trash these other 3 East teams real quick.
Oh,
Philly,
please.
New York, Miami. Nothing worth mentioning
Nothing.
at all whatsoever.
Nothing.
So now let's talk about the Giants. You were saying
the Giants look good, except they had a little hiccup. Vogelson looks good, but I think he got blown up in a game. But you know who hasn't looked good for them is Kane. Kane has had a horrible time.
Yeah, what's up
the
with
beginning
that?
of the year, and he's their ace. The Freak with his nice, neat haircut has been decent, and the other guy, Bumberger, has actually looked good.
His name's Tim Lincecum now. He lost his nickname when
Okay,
he
we
shaved
can't
his
call
head.
him that. And your boy Zito, he's still throwing well.
Surprise, right?
So first year, last year, he's earning his money. He's got 2 World Series rings. Hey, he earned that 7-year, $126 million contract. But it's surprising. But the teams that are surprising me the most is because they're poorly right now is the Dodgers. They got a payroll over $200 million. And they seem they can't get it started.
Last in their division.
Even though they've had some injuries, they are not playing well. But I will say this, Gonzalez at first base is hitting like 360, something like that. And my boy out in left field has come back, and he's got it back.
Crawford and Gonzalez are really
is
the
killing
only
it.
Dodgers that have been playing well, though.
Ellis has been playing well. Your third baseman, or is he the catcher?
Ellis
Because
is the catcher.
there's two Ellises on the team. His played well. You're right. Everybody else, and Ethier has been more hot than cold. But Kemp right now, the leader of that
I wouldn't
team,
say Ethier's played bad, but I would say Matt Kemp has played bad.
poorly all year. The last week or so, he seemed to come out of his year-long slump or month-long slump as it is. But I'm looking at them like, what's going on with the Dodgers? But we've talked about the pitching. They've had injuries, and their guys aren't coming through. But that young Korean guy that they have, Ray, whatever that's name, he's pitching well
When
for
he's
them.
on, he's on. But I've seen him get rocked a couple times. But he's had some very good starts.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Also,
right
he's
now,
had some very bad starts.
yeah, and even the lefty, Kershaw, has not been that guy to just dominate.
One more National League team I want to just point out something real quick, just because it was an interesting story I read yesterday.
Okay.
Not really relevant record-wise, but it made me think of a question. Walt Weiss, of course, a first-year manager in Colorado, 18-13, not a bad start. Dante Bichette's their batting coach. I didn't know that. Somehow that went under the radar. And there was a story about him in the paper, I think yesterday, possibly Sunday. The Angels only had Dante Bichette for 1 year.
Is that all?
We traded him for Dave Parker after the first year we had him.
Well, you got to understand.
I thought Dante Bichette was with the Angels for a couple years at least. I didn't realize it was only one season.
Yeah, but he was Colorado made. I mean,
yeah,
he was thin
he
air.
didn't go to Colorado from the Angels. There was somewhere else, and then once he got to Colorado, all of a sudden it was,
he cut
a whole
loose.
bunch of home runs.
Yeah, but you look at Dave Parker, because when Dave Parker came here, he was coming off of being great in Pittsburgh.
That's right. That's where Bichette went. He went to Pittsburgh.
So
I couldn't remember where Parker was.
Yeah, he's in Pittsburgh. So you were thinking, you get Parker there, you got a guy that's going to slam something. But he was on the downside of his career, so he wasn't the same guy he was. Because in Pittsburgh, he was the Cobra. He was a bad man.
Right.
So I always give him props. The lefty was a good hitter and a great arm.
Over in the American League, we already kind of mentioned Boston's been all right, Detroit, Texas. We mentioned Oakland. So I won't get into any of those. Kansas City we also mentioned. There's two teams I want to talk about.
Okay.
One's the Yankees, who have lost everybody. They've lost who isn't on the DL for the Yankees right now?
Well, the manager came back.
18-12.
The manager came back.
Damn.
Or the GM. Was it the GM that was
Cashman,
injured?
yeah, he had hurt his ankle skydiving, which is hilarious. You got Euclid on the DL, Rodriguez, Jeter, Teixeira, Granderson, Jabba Chamberlain's now hanging out on the DL with them. This whole team is just decimated, and they're 18-2.
I will say the trade they made with the Angels really helped him, bringing that left fielder over.
Yeah, I figured that's where you were going with this.
No, but I'm going to say I'm not putting that much on it, because who knows what he would have done.
I knew you were going here with this, and that's why I brought up the Yankees before that other team that Vernon just came from, because that's the other team in the American League I wanted to bring up. 11-20, Angels. The worst start in the existence of the team through 31 games. What in the hell is going on in Anaheim?
If you're asking me, I will always tell you it's pitching first, it's fielding, and it's hitting.
But if you're going to go out and get a new general manager who was a relief pitcher himself, shouldn't you get a decent bullpen when the problem with your team the season before was our terrible bullpen?
But it takes a minute, because you have people under contract. And I understand they have money to spend, but you just can't get rid of everybody that's there that could have been a problem. They got rid of some of the pitching to bring in new guys that they thought would do well.
Yeah, but the move he made, he went out and got, what's his name, the closer from Atlanta that hasn't played, Madsen, right?
Madsen, right.
Madsen. So then Frieri's now the setup guy, which on paper that looked good because we used to have that 1-2 punch, like with K-Rod and Percival. Like, when we had, Shields and Rodriguez closing then at that time. Even when we had Francisco Rodney, he didn't do well for the Angels, but we at least had a setup guy. We don't really have that right now, and I guess that was the idea behind it. But it doesn't work if Madsen's never going to play in an Angel uniform anyways, so Frieri's still the closer. He's really the one quality arm we have in the bullpen, and he's irrelevant unless we're winning the game. And we're not hitting.
You're not hitting.
Mark Trumbo currently leads the Angels in batting average with .294. There's not one Angel hitting .300 right now. Well, I think Borges is, but he's on the DL, so he doesn't count.
He doesn't count.
.294.
Hitting is contagious. Pitching is contagious. When your number one starter goes down, that kind of puts a cloud over their head, like the Cardinals did when they had Chris Carpenter as their number one guy, and Wainwright was the number two. When Chris went down, they had Wainwright. You guys didn't have that number two guy that was a number one guy in waiting. You didn't have that. You went and signed Wilson, and Wilson's had a decent year so far, but his ERA is over 4, so he gets hit. And if the Angels aren't scoring 6 runs a game, you're looking at a team and going, wow, what's going on? Because he doesn't pitch that deep in the games, and if your bullpen isn't that strong, which happens, if you don't have that...
Although CJ is 3-0.
Yeah, but I'm saying his ERA is over 4.
Yeah, 4.04.
So you're talking about a guy that might pitch 6 innings. 7th, 8th, and 9th leads get lost because he only has 3 decisions. He's started at least 6 or 7 games. You know what I mean? So what's happened in those other games?
Man, remember when we gave up on Rodney too soon, and then he became the best pitcher out of any bullpen last year with Detroit?
He was killing it.
Oh,
he was killing
gave up
it.
on him too soon.
Now he's in Tampa Bay doing this thing. So, I mean, it's crazy.
Well, anyway, the note on the Angels, though, I wanted to point out, we are on it currently starting today, a 6-game road trip, 3 at Houston, 3 against the White Sox. I think if there's going to be any time right now early on we could get it turned around, these 6 games on the schedule should help us out. I see us coming back and being 17-20.
All I say to you is don't put a noose around your neck when they lose one or two of those games in Houston. Why? Because they didn't beat Bud Norris when Norris came to California to pitch.
This is true. Anyways, the game's going on today. American League, Angels will be at Houston. Already mentioned that. Kansas City at Baltimore, Oakland at Cleveland, Minnesota at Boston, and Toronto will be at Tampa Bay. Over in the National League, Arizona will be at the Dodgers. Your Cardinals will be at Wrigley.
That's right.
Atlanta will be at Cincinnati. Miami at San Diego. Philadelphia at San Francisco. And there's also a few interleague games today. Detroit will be at Washington. Seattle at Pittsburgh. White Sox will be at New York playing the Mets. Texas at Milwaukee. And New York will be at Colorado.
Wow, that's 5 games.
Yeah, right? Quick break. Be right back with more Finalize This.
Can I help you? Can I help you? What do you do? I do it all. Have a seat. I will because that's something I can do. Do something. Do something. I am. I did. What did you do? It's already done. What did you do? I helped you. Are you drunk? Not drunk enough.
Well, let's get back to the NBA. Moving on over to the Western Conference. And then there were 4, down to 4 teams now. I really like both of these matchups. Because they can go either way.
Isn't that interesting?
You know? Okay, let's... what do you want to start with? Memphis, OKC?
Say again?
Well, you want to start with the Memphis,
Yeah, let's
OKC,
go
or the
Memphis.
San Antonio Golden State?
Let's go Memphis.
We'll go Memphis, OKC. Okay. OKC, very good team, won the West last year. They've lost Russell Westbrook. They're still somehow winning games. But the way that they're winning, you can't be very confident if you're a fan of the Thunder. You're not going to get 25 points out of Kevin Martin off the bench. You're not going to get 20 points out of Reggie Jackson, who's seldomly used. Memphis is just such a good defensive team, and I've been raving about, I mean, really everyone that's a basketball fan has been raving about their team defense since the trade deadline. I didn't realize, however, that they were, in fact, the best team defensively, statistically, and everything. We scoffed at that trade. Why would you trade Rudy Gay? Memphis just shot themselves in the foot. Tayshaun Prince is 1,000,000 years old. That has been the best trade of the deadline, and it's made Memphis so much better than they already were. And they're already a great defensive team. Marc Gasol, of course, winning Defensive Player of the Year. That really could have gone to any Grizzly.
You know, what's interesting, you say that, I'm looking at Zebo, I'm looking at Gasol.
Well, not Zebo. Couldn't have gone to Zebo.
I'm thinking about Tony Allen is the man on that team because he takes the number 1 scoring guard or small forward that comes into Memphis and plays. And I'm like, that man is just phenomenal on defense because he shut down Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul had moments when he looked good, but if they threw Tony Allen on him, you can call it a day. And I really like his defense because he's been that way wherever he's been. He plays hard.
I don't understand how Tony Allen has played on so many NBA teams. He, every single year, is top 5 defenders in the league.
And can still score.
And you never hear anything negative about him, so you wonder why teams don't hang on to him.
I mean, what's the sixth man for the Clippers?
You talking about Jamal Crawford?
Jamal Crawford. Same way. He's been on every team in the NBA, it seems like.
Yeah, but he's a scorer, and you know what you're going to get out of him. With Tony Allen, you know you're going to get great perimeter defense, and the old adage, defense wins championships.
No, but I'm saying,
he's more valuable
I'm saying,
to a team
you
than
know a
Jamal
guy.
Crawford.
In some senses, but I'm saying, when you're talking about a guy who can score like that, just like you talk about a guy who can play defense, you know what he's going to give you, so you build around that, or you bring in pieces as you need them. I'm saying both of those guys have traveled around the league, and I wonder why. One guy doesn't play great defense, the other guy doesn't score great points, but what they do really well. And
Jamal Crawford plays defense?
No, I'm saying one guy plays good defense, the other guy scores well. I'm saying you know what they do. Tony Allen plays great defense.
I was just surprised when you said one guy doesn't play great defense. I was surprised that you're saying Jamal Crawford plays defense at all. I mean, he really is
he plays some
the Western
defense.
Conference's J.R. Smith, is he not?
He is
Are they
Skip
not
to
the
Malou
same
for
guy?
real.
You know, I'm just saying. So anyways, I don't think Oklahoma City can win this series against the Grizzlies without Russell Westbrook. I don't think it's possible.
See, the thing is, I do. They did win. Even though Memphis was leading, they did win.
Okay.
What I like about OKC is I still like them down low. Even though they're not the threat to score a lot down low, but they will score. I look at them and I say, Cephalosha, as a defensive player, I like him. I wonder if they're going to put him on Mike at point guard to try to slow that up. They're not going to slow up that scoring on the outside. I believe Kevin is going to up whatever he does in the next 2 or 3 games. He's going to take maybe 25, closer to 30 shots.
Just in case people out there are confused, we're talking about Kevin Durant, not Kevin Martin, right?
Yeah, not
Because
Kevin
you're not going
Martin.
to get 25 out of him again the rest of the series.
Well, I think Martin's going to score maybe 17, 18 points a game.
Yeah, but the thing about Kevin Martin, if he's on the floor, and you just touched on this, the best defender that Oklahoma City has is sitting on the bench when Kevin Martin's playing. Because he comes in for Cephalosha. Cephalosha, also a guy that's top 5 perimeter defenders every year, in my opinion. I can't believe the Bulls let that guy go.
But what's the guy's name that's taking Westbrook's place?
It's Reggie Jackson has been starting.
So, no, I think they'll have Cephalosha playing point and change it that way. Because Reggie is not the dude that needs to be playing 35 minutes a game. Because for some moments, I've seen him think he's Westbrook, and I will start taking the last shot.
And with
I'm like,
Westbrook
who are
down,
you, dude?
what do they have to go to when Jackson's got to go to the bench for foul trouble or whatever reason? You got Derek Fisher, who's, 38?
And he's been scoring, though.
I'm just saying, I don't think they could beat the Memphis Grizzlies. Even the guys that come off the bench for the Grizzlies are great defenders. And
but they're not
Bayless
quick.
And,
but what they're not is those real athletic, quick guys. Fisher can play with them. You know what I mean? Mike Conley might be the fastest guy on the floor.
yeah, but here's the
And
thing.
he's
There's
getting guarded
never
by
any
Cephalosha.
point in a Grizzlies game where all 5 starters are on the bench, unless it's some complete blowout. There's always, one. I would go so far to say there's always 2 of those starters are on the floor, at all times, because they only use an 8-man rotation.
Pretty much. No, see, I'm with you in that Derek is going to get his, because what did he score in the last game? 8 points, maybe?
I think it's 7 or 8.
Yeah, and he hit some big jumpers. Derek Fisher's Derek Fisher. And I got to say, if you don't expect him to go out and run the offense and just blaze up and down, he's going to do what he does. And I'm looking at Mike Conley, and I'm saying, man, this dude is just, he's handling his business. I love what he does. I like Zebo, and I like Gasol.
Within the next 2 seasons.
I'm going to give you that. And I, even though we've talked about it, I'm saying he's right there, that last guy coming in, because I think there's so many young good ones. I'm saying it's going to be interesting watching that series.
I agree with that. As far as next year, it's debatable if Mike Conley Jr. makes the Western All-Stars. I guarantee Mike Conley Jr. is an All-Star in 2 years, because you look down the road in 2 years, there's no more Kobe, there's no more Parker, there's going to be some spots open up there.
You think
and
Parker's...
Mike Conley Jr. will be an All-Star within 2 seasons.
I may be wrong, but I doubt it.
But like you said, though, he is handling his business. If you would have came to me and said, before the Memphis Clippers series, and said that Mike Conley Jr. is going to cancel out CP3, I would have told you you're crazy. And that's exactly what happened. Paul scored more, Conley had way more assists, and he completely canceled out Chris Paul.
He didn't make a lot of turnovers. I mean, he played really well. He played like he's been in the league for his 8 or 9 good years, and he's been in the league, maybe 5 years? 6 years?
He came in the Odin year. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They came in together, and Odin played, better than a year and a half? So 6 years, somewhere in that 5-6 years. He plays very good point guard. So I look at that team, like you said, 8-man rotation. They're not going that deep, and the guys are young enough to be able to play. And Zebo,
well, except Tayshaun, he's pretty old.
Well, Tayshaun and Zebo. Zebo is not the youngest guy, but he, like I said, he doesn't jump and he's not running. So how tired is he going to be? All he's going to do is lay on guys. So he does what he does every game. I like that series, but I still think OKC can match them down low physically, because I like Ibaka, and we've talked about the Westbrook or having Ibaka, and I'm like,
I believe
Ibaka.
It's pronounced Ibaka.
Ibaka blocks a many a shot, and I love what he does. So I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking, but Perkins is the only one I haven't heard from, so I don't know what's going on with Perkins. But I look at them down low, and I say they cancel them out physically. So Memphis won't be able to just out-physical OKC.
So, prediction then.
I'm thinking OKC in 6.
I got Memphis in 6.
Okay.
Even though OKC's already taken game 1, I still think Memphis pulls this off in 6 games. And it's a great series, so, I look forward to every one of those games. Now, the other matchup, Golden State Warriors, who, I don't know if you heard last week's show, but I said I'm going to ride with them for the West now. I like the Warriors. I like this young backcourt. I like Mark Jackson as a coach. I think they could beat the Spurs, but they can't seem to win in San Antonio. But the Spurs did need double overtime to beat them on their home floor. So, I mean, if you're Golden State, you haven't won in that building in forever, and you lose that way, you still got to be feeling pretty good about stealing home court away in Game 2. I think the streak ends in Game 2, and Golden State wins in San Antonio and wins the series in 7 games.
I will say this to you. I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to say, I've heard, Kawhi Leonard is going to start guarding your boy, Mr. Curry, and I think he's going to change that series if he guards him, because I don't think Curry's going to get off.
I would
unless
hate
he's
to
going
see
go
that because
through
I'm
2
such
or
a
3
big
screens.
fan of both Curry and Kawhi Leonard.
I know you
that.
you like Leonard. I know you love his game. This guy's 6'7", 220, and he can run. So I'm like, he's going to have to come off of a lot of screens to score like Reggie Miller did with the Pacers. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I like Golden State. I love it. I lived up there for years, and I like what they do. I like Jackson, like you were saying. But I think the Spurs are starting to find their stride. Guys are starting to play like they're not as injured. Parker looks good. Parker played a great game.
He did.
And Duncan was on the bench when they came back. Think about that. I'm like, man, so I don't know. I'm with you, but I'm thinking San Antonio.
How many games?
I think that's going 6 too.
I think that one I think it's going 7, but you're going 6 for
I think it's going 6.
All the matchups you went 6
I
games.
think it's going to be 6 games.
Interesting. Well, it's come to that time in the show. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Where there's a couple little stories that don't warrant a whole 5-minute or what have you segment. So we're going to cover all of our little stories that happened over, I guess, the last week in...
I'm just saying.
Let's see, where do we start here? I know where I want to start here. Interesting story in the paper this morning. Mike D'Antoni has fired 2 assistant coaches because, it's their fault that the Lakers were bad. So that's 3 coaches now that are gone. Eddie Jordan, who was brought in by Mike Brown to run the Princeton offense, which was obviously a terrible idea. He's the new head coach at Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
We have fired Chuck Person, the rifleman. Speaking of old San Antonio Spurs. The last Phil Jackson coach left on the Lakers has now been fired by D'Antoni.
Wow.
And Bernie Bickerstaff got axed. Bernie Bickerstaff was 4-1 as a head coach this year. He was the only of the 3 Laker head coaches that did well. Anyways, so now a big surprise here. The stories are he's keeping his brother on. Dan D'Antoni will be back. And now Alvin Gentry, since he's been fired in Phoenix, is now rumored to be hired by Mike D'Antoni. He's trying to rebuild this 06-07 Phoenix team, only it's 7 years later.
So is he bringing in a coach to replace him when he gets fired?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what happened.
Isn't that what happened in
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Hey.
So he wants to relive it all? Can you imagine that?
I just don't understand it. Mike D'Antoni, you're an idiot.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know if he's an idiot. I think he's a guy that's just not sure of who he is and what he wants to be.
I think he's an idiot.
You think he's...
Yeah.
I don't think he's an idiot because I don't think the Lakers would have hired an idiot. I just think they hired a guy who's trying to relive something he can't do. You can't rebuild that model with old players.
Well, just real quick on that. We all know that he only got hired so Jimmy Buss could stick it to Phil Jackson.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm just saying.
Okay, let's see. What else is going on here? Well, you were gone. You were in St. Louis. So
Yes, sir.
Tim Tebow's NFL career looks like it might be close to over unless his hometown Jacksonville Jaguars take a chance on him. Do you think they do it?
No, I heard the GM that took over, or because they sold the team, said they don't want him.
That's spectacular news, and I, for one, am very happy to know that Tebow Mania is completely over
Did
now.
you hear they said he could go to Canada, and the people in Canada say they don't want him?
Wow.
So what is he going to do? But I understand, though, some
He needs
teams...
to play fullback somewhere.
I was going to say some teams wanted him as tight end, and he didn't want to do it. He believes he's a
Well,
quarterback.
I don't know that he could catch. I've never seen him do stuff like that, but we know for sure he could be a
can
very
block.
good fullback.
He can block.
Yeah.
And that's what fullbacks do.
Yeah, he would be an excellent fullback. Anyways, Tim Tebow, if you want your NFL career to continue, you should start being a fullback.
I'm just saying.
So speaking of the Jets quarterbacks, they've let Tebow go. They drafted Geno Smith. Who ends up the starter week 1? What do you think's going to happen?
No, the backup from Jacksonville.
Who are we talking about?
The guy from Jacksonville, black quarterback,
Oh, David Garrard.
David Garrard.
You think he's going to be the starter week 1?
Yes.
I think week 1, Geno Smith is the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, and I think it's only a matter of time before Mark Sanchez joins Tim Tebow out of the NFL.
I'm just saying.
I don't think so.
I do.
I think he's not going to be out of the NFL because he has talent. He's just in a bad situation right now. And once
man.
you start going downhill, you need to step aside
You
for a
know I'm
second.
a Trojans fans, but Trojans quarterbacks do not have a very good track record as NFL quarterbacks.
Suppose he goes to Seattle.
He's never going to play in Seattle.
No, he's not going to start in Seattle. But he still have a career. And that's what I mean. He's going to be a backup somewhere. Gino's going to be the backup. Gerard's going to be the starter, and they'll see how that goes. But think about it. Gerard doesn't have anybody to throw to, just like he didn't have anybody to throw to.
Yeah. Well, there was one other story here, but, neither of us really care about it. Plus, we're running out of time anyways. The Kentucky Derby was on Sunday. Orb was the winner, and Rick Pitino's horse did not win.
I'm just saying.
So, I mean, you can't win it all. You got the national title, but your horse loses, so whatever.
It's been a great year anyway.
Well, like I said, we're about out of time here. Join us again on Thursday, same time. Go like our page on Facebook, Fanalyze This, check us out past episodes on Spreaker.com, and follow us on Twitter. Anything you want to add, AP?
No, I just want to say I'm glad to be back.
I'm Joe 5 o'clock somewhere.
Hey, peace.
Hey.